Well, just when you thought auto racing's silly season couldn't get any more crazy, I present to you August 2nd, 2022. And today, Oscar Piastri just went full Alex Palou. In this video, we're going to talk about why and how and who's behind it. Hint, hint, it's Zach Brown. But be sure to subscribe for more because I've been all over all of this contract drama since it began. Really, this whole year has just been absolutely insane, but particularly, I can't remember a last 30 days or so in racing that have been this crazy. So if you want to stay up to date on what's happening, you are in the right place. I think I've got a NASCAR video coming tomorrow. That, of course, is dependent on the fact that nothing else super stupid or crazy happens tomorrow. And at this rate, I'm totally expecting there will be even more crazy things to come. So if you didn't know who Oscar Piastri is, and I don't blame you because a lot of my audience is very US-centric, he is the 2021 F2 champion. And until yesterday, apparently was Alpine F1's top driver prospect. But today, he has made an announcement that has shaken the auto racing world to the core. Now, let's back up a couple of weeks, because when I say someone has gone full Alex Palou, what does that mean? Well, here's the Alex Palou situation, the down and dirty of it, if you are unaware. Alex Palou, the 2021 IndyCar champion, was announced to return to Chip Ganassi Racing in 2023. However, Palou himself responded on Twitter in a statement clarifying that he had not signed with the team and in fact would not drive for Chip Ganassi Racing in 2023. This was followed shortly by a press release from McLaren F1 saying that Palou had signed to drive for their team in an unspecified role in 2023. Then, Chip Ganassi Racing sued Alex Palou just before the Indianapolis race week this past week. You wouldn't believe it, but it keeps going. This week, Alex Palou's lawyers fired back and presented a motion to move the case to federal court rather than Indiana state court, in which the trial was originally supposed to take place. Now, you guys may be well aware at this point of my pal Louis Frank, who writes for Reuters and is a former lawyer. He sent me over exactly what to interpret from this latest move in the Alex Palou case, and this is what Louis had to say. The reason that Palou's attorneys are seeking to remove the case to federal court is that they are hoping to get a more favorable outcome in federal court than in state court. Well, why would that be? Simple. In my opinion, less potential people connected to IndyCar racing at a national court level than in the state of Indiana. Obviously, Indiana, the hotbed for not only IndyCar racing, but a lot of auto racing just in general. However, I personally believe that this move that Alex Palou's people have moved the trial to federal court, I think it's a Hail Mary. I don't think it will work, because I think, and have been of the opinion for quite a while, that Alex Palou and his people are in quite a bit of trouble. Now, Palou's lawyers have specifically stated an intention to take Alex to Formula One. Well, that just became way more complicated over the past 2 days. All of this new drama began when Fernando Alonso shockingly announced a move from Alpine to Aston Martin, following the retirement of Sebastian Vettel, leaving Alpine with a vacant seat in Formula One. No issue, right? Alpine announced today that they had signed Oscar Piastri to their second car, but you'll never guess what happened next. I understand, without my agreement, Alpine F1 have put out a press release late this afternoon that I am driving for them next year. This is wrong, and I have not signed a contract with Alpine for 2023. I will not be driving for Alpine next year. Does that statement sound familiar? Well, it should, because it sounds almost exactly the same, save for a couple of statements, as Alex Palou's statement, stating that he was leaving Ganassi Racing to go drive for McLaren next year. Didn't think it got crazy enough yet, did you? Well, here's where things get off into the weeds. Despite reports that Fernando Alonso was on vacation and had no cell phone service, as apparently Otmar Snafhauser, who is the team principal over at Alpine, was attempting to get in touch with Fernando Alonso to ask him what the heck he was doing, he posted a thumbs up on Instagram, which of course you probably need cell service to do, a minute after the Piastri announcement, leading to some speculation that Piastri's Alpine contract expired and was not renewed on July 31st, and that Alonso ducking the team on August 1st and heading to Aston Martin prevented Alpine from having any clue that they needed to re-sign Oscar Piastri to the team, because why would you need to with 2 F1 seats full? Enter Hollywood Zach Brown. According to Sage Hugh, who has had some F1 scoops in the past, he has reported that Mark Webber, Piastri's agent, was speaking to Zach Brown at the London E-Prix. It has been rumored that McLaren had interest in Piastri, but this, plus the distinct similarities to the Palou incident, indicate that McLaren is very much involved in this story as well. And oh, by the way, Rinus VK's window to negotiate with other IndyCar teams opened on August 1st. It seems like all these things are coming together, doesn't it? He's been long rumored to be in play for the 3rd Aero McLaren SP seat, and I can tell you from my personal experiences and talking to people in the paddock, he still seems to be the front runner for that seat at this time. But this is what he said on Twitter. Make of that what you will. And just to throw a little bit of extra spice in here, Marcus Ericsson, former F1 driver, Indy 500 winner, and one of my lovely, lovely Twitter followers. Hi, Marcus, if you're watching. Had a very interesting tweet yesterday, essentially predicting right now exactly correctly what would happen in the Formula One silly season. Predicting that Alpine would end up with Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly, that AlphaTauri would get Mick Schumacher as well as Yuki Tsunoda, McLaren would end up with Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, Alfa Romeo would be Bottas and Zhou Guanyu, which isn't really a surprise, that's the same team it has been. Haas would become Kevin Magnussen and Daniel Ricciardo, and Williams would be Alex Albon and Nick De Vries. Like I said, he's been spot on thus far. So, McLaren certainly seems to have way more drivers than they have seats right now. And things seem to be getting crazier and uglier as things go on. Will the Piastri thing end up in court? My thought process is beginning to swing to no. And I floated this possibility on Twitter today, and I don't know how accurate it may turn out to be. But I have a suspicion that McLaren learned quite a bit from the Alex Palou situation and how to take a driver away from another team that they want without as much mess. Now, I'm not saying necessarily that Alex Palou signing with McLaren was a test run to see how they could screw Oscar Piastri out of Alpine, but I certainly think it informed their decision a lot more as to how to proceed with getting their man to Formula One. And this is the crazy thing too, because the only way, and I continue to say this and many others do too, the only way that Alex Palou to McLaren made any sense was that if there was a big payday in Formula One on the other side of that rainbow. It was the only reason that you would burn that bridge with Chip Ganassi 1 year away from having your contract end naturally anyway. And all of a sudden, Oscar Piastri is very much in the hunt and in the window to join McLaren F1 as a driver next year alongside of Lando Norris, or potentially 2024 when, by the way, Colton Herta's IndyCar contract ends, and you know he's going to be on the radar for McLaren F1 as well. So there's as many as 3 drivers, and 4 if you add Daniel Ricciardo into that mix, who could be at McLaren F1 as soon as next year, but certainly looking at 2024. And then you go on to the IndyCar side of things. If Rinus VeeKay does indeed sign with Arrow McLaren SP, well, that, number one, takes away any potential that Alex Palou would race an IndyCar next year, though I certainly think that he really doesn't have much of a chance of being an IndyCar for Ganassi or Arrow McLaren SP next year. And then Felix Rosenqvist, who seems to be doing just about everything he needs to do to prove that he belongs in IndyCar racing, potentially out of a seat and heading to Formula E. Well, who would join him there? Would potentially Alex Palou end up there? Would Oscar Piastri end up there? Remember, Mark Webber was talking to Zach Brown at a Formula E race. I don't know, man. This is absolutely insane, and I think it's just going to keep getting more and more crazy. Remember, stick right here if you want to hear things as it breaks. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been David Land on YouTube. Like I said, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.